Hi Piyush, this is Suruta here.
Hi, ma'am.
So it was great working, with you and seeing that. So we have all have been done that, done our MBAs, but you guys are amazing because you are working and doing a, fully rigorous MBA course, right?
Mhm.
That's really amazing. Tell me a little bit about yourself, your profile, so that others also get an idea of your background and what you've been doing.
Okay. So first of all, thank you, ma'am, for inviting me. It's a pleasure to share, to sit here where I was sitting on the other side, listening to the other mentors. So it's exciting to, share my experience with you. So in terms of my experience, I have nearly 12 years, 13 years of experience, and predominantly I completed my BTech in year 2012, and since then I have been working in the automotive industry. And fortunately enough, I have been working yet into the automotive industry. So I can say that where I started with what logic, basically the passion for the cars, which actually got me into this field, is still, is still with me when I speak of working in the automotive industry. I started with a sort of, you know, sticking to the same industry. I would say it's quite challenging because there are so many distractions that come in during these paths, and of course, monetary measures, the pleasure, the feeling of switching a job and getting a better hike into a better role always comes along when you do. I started my career from a company called CNH Industrial, which is a tractor manufacturing firm. I started with a different project domain. Being a GAT, you generally get tossed around randomly, like a lucky draw in some of the random departments. But that happens, and that's where it takes you in that, okay, the first part of the job where you wanted to get into the automotive company is done, but now the another part comes where you want to get into a field of your choice, and these two are separate things. So that's where it's
Mhm.
taken me that I want to get into more streamlined work where I want to work in, particularly the technical aspects like powertrain, the designing of the engines or the powertrains that actually I wanted to do. So I started a struggle or efforts to get into more relevant field which I wanted to opt for, pretty, particularly product development and engineering. And later on, with some of the efforts, I was able to make it. Later on, joined Honda Cars, again a dream company for me. Being a car enthusiast, one of the best companies to work for, and there I worked for nearly 6 years. The overlap happened very smoothly because I was in technical areas. I joined in the technical area, but later on in the company like that in Honda, you have a different areas to work on, and also your aspirations changes after 4 5 6 years. You try to do something more, something better, something directional. And later on, I after these all good 10 years, 9 to 10 years, I felt that I have spent a lot of time into the technical areas. I want to go up in the leadership hierarchy. But
Right.
as a caveat, and many of the listeners or the mentees would agree that when you are in a field, it's very difficult to change. It's very difficult to skip the hierarchies. The hierarchies of manufacturing firms are very rigid. There are 2 3 years for the next promotion. Happens very, the cadence is very regular. So with that, I thought that it would be better for me to rather switch the job now to get into a strategic side, a consulting side, which where I could work as a subject matter expert because I've worked on technical areas all those period. So I started working toward it. The first transition happened with TCS. I worked as a technical consultant for one of the French automotive OEMs there. It was a big change, which took a lot of hard work, a lot of effort, I would say, because a lot of things need to be learned and unlearned as well to make that change. And then the next change where S&P Global, where I'm currently working with, is actually again, I would say a subsequent step, and fortunate enough to take that step where I'm working again in the automotive field, but more towards strategy, consulting, market research, and market insights. So yes, this is whole in a nutshell about the career path. And yes, in between there was an online MBA that I completed from XLRI. Of course, it was demanding. It was really tough to balance it with the life because you are living your life doing the job and then pursuing the MBA.
So the shift that you have done, right, from hardcore manufacturing to
Mhm,
TCS and now to S&P, right? Could you
mhm,
talk more about how did you manage to switch that jobs,
mhm.
and also what challenges did you face while doing that, right,
Yeah.
during the switch part, and how did you overcome it? Because that is something which a lot of people aspire to do. right? So
Mhm.
like, talk more about that.
Right. Okay, I'll start with the mistakes which I did and which the wrong perceptions I had to make a switch. When I wanted to make a switch, the perception that I had of this one was I've been into the technical field for good enough time. I can easily work as a subject matter expert to anywhere. I was fairly confident that I would crack the interview. And then the work started to get the interview. But that's the most difficult part. The major consulting firms will not reach you out just because you are a subject matter expert. They have altogether different requirements. I
Right.
thought that doing some obvious courses, just leveraging the main keywords that is going around on the latest job portals. I could do a couple of trainings relevant and just make a switch, I would convince, but that's not sufficient enough. So, and that's where this MBA part also came in. This is right where I thought that I could leverage my MBA right there to change. But this doesn't happen in that, a good line storytelling thing. So what
Mm-hmm.
happened, what actually worked for me is when I started thinking about it, I realized that I cannot make a 360-degree change in one go. I realized quick enough that I need to make smaller changes or pivot it very slowly and in a transitional manner. That's where after a lot of pondering and um, thinking, as I've realized that the courses that I'm doing are helpful, but the courses will have to very apt, not because these courses would be helpful in the next company where I'd switch in, but these courses I need to showcase that they are relevant in my current role as well. I'm using
Mm.
those. So the first thing is practicality. I realized I need to be more practical in the courses that I choose in, and not only the online MOOC courses, but also in the MBA which I'm going to do. It has to be practical enough. I could apply it instantly. I had a backup
Mm.
plan that even though if I could not make it to the next job, how I can apply it in the current job with the process of extending my opportunities there, because I never wanted to just make I
That's
get up one day and decide I want to switch. When I interviewed for the next company after Honda Cars, that's where quick questions came. I could recall that some of the questions came that, okay, you are doing this is a job requirement, but what are you doing in your current job? Because when you are working with the automotive company, you are stereotyped with the kind of work you are doing. See, the people who have worked in this industry have reached there, and you are also trying to reach there. They know in and outs of the industry what you might be probably doing, even by knowing the department's name, right? They have contacts. They have lived long enough for that, long enough to that. So they know and they have some sort of stereotype expectations, but you need to bridge it very sequentially that it makes sense for them. Okay, this is you might be doing, but this is on alpha you have an expertise on. This is where you
right.
get the opportunity that you can leverage that alpha to their job role. Again, this same helped me to S&P Global as well. I leveraged the insights from TCS to get into S&P. I still feel I won't be able to get into the company where I am directly from Honda. One stepping stone was needed, and of
Mm.
course there might be two. And I still knew that for if I have an aspiration to get into MBBs or the management consulting, probably I might need one more,
Mm-hmm.
because 360-degree turns don't happen in a day. That's what I realized, and I got some understanding based on experience. You need to make sure smaller steps, incremental steps that will help you make the meaningful changes and get to where you are.
Right, right. So you mentioned a few things, right? That you thought one, it would be easier, you can make a shift. Then second, that you thought that stuffing the resume with keywords would help. Those are some of the assumptions that you set out with. But how
Mhm.
did you overcome it? I mean, how did you kind of solve this problem?
So when you are doing an MBA from the A-League college like XLRI, you get up to exposed to a lot of good opportunities. For
Mm-hmm.
example, GoCrackIt being one of these, because that's where you get insights from the professors who have been working with some of the very good talent for the past couple of years. They can tell you that this is how you can leverage. Because the first questions, obvious question that I used to have with a couple of professors with whom I was in touch with is how to leverage this MBA to make a shift to get to where I am. Okay. So this is where they, give you insights about the CV, about the modifications, about some of the things that I just mentioned, but in some of the another context. It's just an encapsulation of what I've learned over these years. The sessions with mentors, the mentors from the college, mentors arranged by GoCrackIt itself, and of course you and Alok sir. I have interacted a couple of times during that time, and that time, this is where you realize what's practicality, right? And of course, what's needed, what should be done. That's where um, I feel that many students like me realize that they should not leave their existing career like for 8-10 years, good amount of base that they have built on to get to another aspect of it. And again, lastly, to the back to the basics, tailoring and modifying your CVs, the
Hmm.
use of the keywords, what should be added, what should not be added. It should not be verbose. When I was not in MBA, my CV was 4 pages long,
Hmm.
and it was very verbose because I wanted to display that I am a subject matter expert and this is all I can do. But later on, I cut it down to 1 page, made it concise. I still feel that this is way better than what it was. So this is where mentorship, the coaching, networking with the experts helps students to get further.
So you mentioned about how GoCrackIt helped. Maybe one or two key things which you really liked about GoCrackIt and what which helped you a lot.
I think at this stage of life, after 10 years of experience, networking makes a lot of meaning. And
Mm.
basically, you would like to understand how, more like a face to face with someone experienced from the company, how you can go ahead, what you can do next. Go Crackit comes at the right place to fill that void where it connected us to the mentors. I have been assigned a couple of mentors, and of course, even if they are not relevant, I was able to change the mentors more relevant to the area where I would work with. So this is where, meeting making them meet about the right people where they
Mm.
can interact within themselves. On top of it, helping the students like me to update and tailor made their the career journey and the CVs actually helped me a lot, I would say.
And I'm sure a lot of people would like to, understand what happened in the interview room, right? So, any specific incidences, any tough questions, when you were making those switches, right, from Honda to
Mhm.
TCS. So, TCS interview, S&P interview, right? Any specifics, any interesting tidbits that you'd like to share?
So the key takeaway for me was that if you feel sometimes that this is going out of the point, generally as an interviewer, we try to maneuver it into the area of our expertise because that's the easier thing to do.
Mm.
Sometimes it doesn't happen, but rather than stretching it, we still need to make sure that it's into the same area or the similar area up to which we have the knowledge of, rather than trying hard to explain something that we are not very familiar with. So this is what.
To kind of close this, what message would you have for all the aspiring professionals out there who aspire to make these amazing shifts that you have done?
So the technology has itself changed, the need has changed and evolved. So basically, it's never a straight path. We need to evolve our requirements, and we need to be open about it, that we need to make the change. And as I mentioned earlier, while making the changes, that these changes should be practical enough. We need to think that if I'm thinking in one direction about the one change, whether one course or one MBA, it's very difficult to switch the whole domain that you're working with. It's
Mm.
up to you. Nobody is going to help you directly that, okay, you were working in engineering side yesterday and now I'll interview for a management side. It's up to you to decide and think what steps you would need. Incremental steps, maybe 5 steps or at least 3 steps. You need to decide a process. So that will help to break down. Generally told to us in a management interview that whenever a problem is asked, you need to break it down. So this is like a simpler life problem which we need to break it down first before dealing the problem for the company.
I think that's an amazing message, and I'm sure a lot of professionals would benefit from that. Right? You simply applied what we do in the corporate, breaking down the problem for our personal life. I think that's a great insight, great message for all. So thank you so much for spending time with us, for doing this quick discussion on what helped, what couldn't, what didn't help. I'm sure it will help a lot of professionals out there, and we look forward for you to be our mentor on our platform and also mentor a lot of professionals as well.